Everybody knows that the Blues are really poor on the road so far this season. The players know that. The managers know that. The coaches will know that. But we just got to make sure we don't concede early goals because how many times
I
do we
know.
go behind? And that's where once you've done that, we struggle, don't
It's
we?
such a hill to climb for Blues at the
One
minute.
one thing to also mention as well, Chris Davis will be banned from
Yeah.
the dugouts.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And our New Year's Day fixture this season is away at Watford, who are now in the playoffs, full of confidence, and come into this game off the back of 3 wins. Now, of course, as we know, Blues have injuries, we have suspensions, but we were encouraged with what we saw against Southampton in terms of our structure at the back, a little bit more sensible. So I have no doubt this is going to make for a great game of football. And in this video, we're going to discuss the 2 teams, the lineups, end it with the score prediction, and just discuss our general thoughts, on what we might expect away at Watford. So, Dad, looking forward to the game?
Yeah, very much so. I like going away, and obviously New Year's Day is always a good fixture. I remember last time in the Championship, it was up at Leeds, wasn't it? It was Rooney's last game that we were up there. But this is a game against a team that I suppose the form team in the division. I'd say they've only lost once in the last 12 games. And who was that against?
It was against Blues,
It was
wasn't it?
against us, so they're going to want to beat us, and they're strong at home. What their problem was is that they were really poor away, but they've won their last 2 away games. You said a bit last time they beat Norwich earlier this week, and before
Leicester.
that they beat Leicester. I mean that's a good win away from home. So they seem to have corrected their away form, which has shot them right up the table. And as you say, they're 7 points ahead of us now, and they're in 6th. And if you they'll be eyeing the automatic place. They're only 5 points off automatic, which is second.
We did a video in the pre-season, Dad. It was very light-hearted, just what were our thoughts on the season, and we picked a couple of teams who we thought might have been our dark horses. I remember you picked Preston was one for you. I picked 2. One was QPR. I don't think they'll do as well as maybe I first thought, and the other one was Watford.
Yeah.
And I just knew if they could get that click together this season, they were going to be a good team. I kept an eye on their recruitment. They brought some good players in.
Yeah, they always do,
play.
don't
They
they?
play
Yeah.
really good football, actually. Watford, Dad. And again, just coming back to the game we played at St.Andrews when we did beat them 2-1, you could still see there was a quality team in there.
Yeah.
It kind of started as a sparring game, didn't it, with Watford? It was kind of a bit end-to-end. Both teams had a few chances. And if we're going to be honest, we won that off the back of 2 worldies, didn't we? We had the Paik goal who took it off Cipriano, I think, or he slipped or something. And then we had that Dimmy goal from the left where the rain rattled the net when it went in. 2 absolutely great goals. And then I think in the second half of that game, it did get a bit more scrappy, didn't it? A bit more disjointed. Watford came out as a little bit more. Of course, they got that goal back. But again, when we left Southampton at St. Mary's, I remember us leaving that in the car saying that they were good football inside. I remember leaving this game that only a couple of weeks ago from what it feels like. And we said again, Watford are a decent football inside, aren't we? So, they're quick. They play down the wings. A lot to be worried about playing Watford, especially on their home patch because they like playing at home, don't they? And they're good at home. So
They're very good at home. In fact, they've only lost once at home, and that was surprisingly they lost.
Blackburn, was it?
1-0 to Blackburn. Yeah, good memory. Yeah, they've basically drawn. They've drawn 4 and won 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they've got a very, very strong home form. One of the best in the division. They got the 3rd best home record in the division behind Coventry and Ipswich. Their away form is now improving. Ours is awful, as we know, but they've won their last 2 away games, so they're moving up the away table. Goals, they score goals. They score 34 goals from their 24 matches, so that's 2 more than us. And their defence is better than ours. They've conceded 29 to our 31. So there's not a huge amount of difference between goals scored and goals against for both teams. But again, a really strong, solid team. And it shows you that, you bring a new manager in, Javi Gracia, and he's changed things around for them. And a lot of managers, and you see this a lot, they like to play these like 4-2-3-1s like we do and all these type of systems. They play a 4-4-2. And
underrated.
It shows you. A lot of fans have said that in our comments, haven't they, Matt, on previous podcasts about we should try 4-4-2. But you can't see Chris Davis doing that. But it shows you that if you've got the right players, I like the structure of a 4-4-2 because I'm old school, and that's where virtually every team back in the day it was all 4-4-2. There's no real science behind it. You set your team up like that, and it makes for some great games of football. Now it's a bit more thought out and technical, I suppose you could say. Before, Watford is showing that they're going against the grain and playing a 4-4-2 that's really been successful for them.
People like Pep Guardiola, Dad, the European style managers, they've changed football, haven't they, in terms of the way teams set up. And I remember who was that? Who was the original Chelsea manager when Abramovich was there? Was it Claudio Ranieri? I remember him trying Christmas trees and all sorts of formations. And I remember football's really changed since money's came into it. And European football's had more influence on English football, and managers try different formations now. But I think 4-2-3-1 has become the new 4-4-2. It seems to be the most common. I mean, teams do adapt. Southampton, as an example, play wing backs.
Yeah,
and
Charlton have played 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 as well. So
exactly, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not, being negative about modern football. I mean, I do have my gripes with it, but like the new formations, people would argue they make you a bit more adaptable, don't they?
Yeah.
But 4-4-2, I'm like you, Dad. I love a 4-4-2. It just makes you more stable.
I think it might have been Chris Davies. This is from memory, going back maybe to last season. He said something along the lines: teams don't get promoted playing 4-4-2.
Right. Well, Watford are going to surely put a dent in that.
Well, they're not promoted yet, but
the point is they're doing well.
So I think he was suggesting that 4-4-2 is not a successful formation for teams, but they're showing it as well. They're very good team, shooting free kicks. Obviously, they've got lots of good players. I'll come on a few of them in a minute, and also as well, they're very good at coming back from losing position, so they won't be worried about going a goal behind. I'd like us back in this game as well because away. We've conceded early goals so many times. I'd like us to be competitive, maybe level at half time or maybe nicking a lead just to get ourselves on the front foot because there's always a long way back when the opposition score first away from home, isn't it? And I think that if we can, maybe build upon what we did at St.Andrews and actually sort of take it forward against Southampton, I think we could be in a much better position. But notwithstanding the fact we are playing the form team here in the division, I've got a few weaknesses as well. They're not great at defending set pieces and also defending from long shots, as we saw when we played them last time. But a good side. I mean, some of the players they've got, Matt, as well. I mean, up front, I always smile when I look at Watford's team sheet because they've always got players you've either appeared to never have heard of and they can't pronounce them as well. So up front, who's on good form at the moment is Kermagard, and also he's alongside their second one is Chak Fatadzi. He scored, he's scoring goals as well. But no, actually, he's not Czech for Daisy. But Kermagard has got 8 goals. Luza, who plays in the centre of their midfield, he's a good player. He's got 6 goals, and they got Nagaki 2 goals. But Luza's also got 6 assists, and Nagaki's got 4.
Luza had assisted 2 against Leicester.
Good player.
He's one of those players that when he ticks, Watford ticks.
Yeah.
When he gets the ball moving, he's their kind of playmaker. He's good on the ball. He's always looking for that ball in. He's a good player. And I like the one player you haven't mentioned, Dad, is Marma.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good player. He's classy. He scored against St.Andrews.
Yeah.
He scored against Leicester, Dad, with the outside of his foot. Loser plays him across. Beautiful goal.
He's their left winger.
He's going to be one for the future, he is, I think. He's a young player, I think. I think he's 21. He's still quite young. I think he's going to be fantastic. And then if you take the creative players out and the midfield and the attack out, they've got a player called Pollock at the back as well.
Yeah.
Again, he was, when I saw him against Leicester, just an absolute powerhouse. A bit like what we've been seeing from Jack Robinson in the last couple of games for the Blues.
Well,
Similar kind of.
He had their highest rating against Norwich, so he's a good centre half. Yeah, and that's actually really good analogy. Jack Robinson is a very similar type of player, but I think every good team needs a player like that in it. Every team. I mean, I look at types of Coventry. They've got lots of Bobby Thomas, haven't they? Good, solid, strong, gritty centre halves. But yeah, good side. Score goals. But we've got to go there with confidence, Matt. We've got to get, and this is obviously filtered down to the fans. We've got to go away with an air of confidence, because if you don't, you're going to be defeated. I think based upon what we saw at Southampton, if we can actually sort of develop that, consolidate top rather than just go at them away, because that's where we've been caught out. We've just taken a lot we do at home. We just go and press and at all costs, and we get being caught out with like goals away. We can't do that.
There's a balance between confidence and playing your game, but also paying the opponent the respect that they deserve. And by the way, that is not me saying that you roll over. That is not me saying that you give them necessarily loads and loads of the ball. But it is saying that Watford are one of the best home teams in the league. They can score goals. Their strengths, in my opinion, play to our weaknesses. Well, they play to our weaknesses pre-Southampton in terms of when a Watford got really high up. Watford will exploit that gaps in the wings that we allow in them. We saw it at St.Andrews, Dad. They did some really good wing play, especially in the first half. So
they'll be mega confident going in against us. I think based upon our current form compared to theirs. I mean, in the last 10 games, they've won 5, drawn 4, and only lost 1. That was against us. We've won 2, drawn 4, and lost 4. So form-wise, we are, and particularly away from home, they'll be big favourites to win this. I think because of their current form
and the momentum they're on.
Yeah, but they've had some good home results. They beat Middlesbrough 3-0 at home. They beat Hull, who were 4th, 2-1. They drew with Preston and Bristol City, and they're beating Queen's Park Rangers in 9th and Stoke in 10th. And obviously some good away wins as well, like you mentioned, Leicester Derby they're beaten away, and Norwich. So it's a good side, but like I say, Matt, I'm a little bit more. I think a lot of fans are really concerned with some of the suspensions and injuries we've got. Mm-hmm. But what we saw against Southampton is we can play a different style of play. It's tactically still the same system, but tactically different by playing that more standard back four with a proper right back. I'm not saying that Watford's not a proper right back, but his tendency is to be attacking, and that leaves us short.
Instructionally, he's been told to go quite high up the pitch, isn't he? And that does leave us vulnerable. The first time I noticed it was West Brom away, and then it hadn't really relented since then. We were getting caught out so much by his instruction to get high up. That isn't me blaming Iwata. He's a good player, and he's a decent right back. Much better centre midfielder, though. How much more combative were we against Southampton in the middle? It was huge difference.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You want a midfield that can break up players, right? And obviously, we will have the likes of Tommy Doyle to come back. Mark Leonard can play in that position as well. Obviously, we've got Pike in there as well. So we have got competition in those areas.
I'd love to see an Iwata-Doyle centre midfield partnership, because Iwata's got that break, that bite, that nastiness, and Tommy Doyle's a bit more that creative, progressive passer, isn't he? Well, we've not really seen that much this season. That'd be interesting to see. But I've got a feeling, Dad, when all said and done, we have a fully fit squad. Knowing Chris Davies, he'll be keeping Pake and Iwata in the 2 centre midfield positions.
I based upon Southampton, hope he does. If I'm honest,
no, that's a fair point.
And I know that raises a question mark. Where do you play Tommy Doyle? Or where do you play Mark Leonard? I get that, but if, and again, I think the player Iwata should be in the midfield, and if anybody should be looked at in terms of rotating, it should be Pake. Although he's a good player, he's a good player as well. Yeah. So, but
you say, Dad, if you earn the shirt, you deserve to keep your place. And for once, I don't mean that as a dig at Pake. It's more of a dig at Chris Davies, I guess, to some extent. Pake has earned his shirt from the Southampton game.
Yes.
As well.
No, exactly.
So he deserves to stay.
I'm not saying by any means drop Pake. Of course, I'm not saying that.
No, you're not.
But I'm just saying, when we're looking at alternatives, if you've got a midfielder like Iwata that's going to break up play, and particularly against these Championship teams, that makes a huge difference, as we saw against Southampton.
Well, I will say, Dad, I'm not a stat man, you're the stat man, but I think these 2 stats really paint a picture of what Watford are about. So they're second highest for the most successful dribbles, and they're the highest for the most amount of attempted through balls. Now, on their own, those stats don't blow you away, but actually when you look at Watford and the way they play, that summarises them perfectly. They do carry the ball, they have tricky players, classy players on the wings, and they do try and play a lot of through balls. That's their game, you know, especially with Loser in the midfield making them tick, and we do have to be wary. And I think if we hadn't have just watched the Southampton game, I'd be really, really worried about this game. Really worried because of the way they play and their attacking prowess. But because we looked that little bit more solid and sensible and structured at the back, I think we can deal with a lot of what they're going to throw at us, to be honest, especially if we set up in that similar way. But no doubt about it, Dad, they're a very good side. I think you can look at a team and the way they play, but one thing that you can't look at sometimes necessarily is the mentality of the team, and the fan base are all believing now. I think that managers really turned a lot of heads and converted a lot of the fan base. The players are playing with confidence, they have momentum. You can't underestimate what these little attributes do to a team. You know, when a team's in a purple patch and they have confidence, that's one of the biggest things for me. It really does make a massive difference, and they're definitely there. But they're beatable, Dad. They're not this perfect Championship team like we always say. And I think the 2 things that I noticed when we played them at St.Andrews, Dad, was because they do overlapping fullback runs, they do focus a lot on wide areas, we can exploit in those pockets behind. I think that's where Dimmy's goal came from. That ability to get out wide, go at them, and that was a cracking goal. And then also as well, when you speed the tempo up through the middle of the park, you can go at them. And again, I think that's where Pake's goal came from. Cipriano, fair enough, got caught in possession. I totally get that. But that was because of our intensity. And if we do those 2 things, we can do, again, we say this a lot, hypotheticals, ifs and buts, depending on what Chris Davies does. We could do okay in this game.
I'd like us to keep and build off our shape. You know what I mean? Keep the same solid shape, and then maybe accept that we're going to be out of possession a little bit more. and then try and catch them. At least you feel like you've got a plan. It feels like there's a game plan. Whereas it's all been a little bit sort of like, let's go at them and let's see how many goals we can get and getting caught. So yeah, it goes into confidence. I think they'll come into this game expecting to roll us over. I think their fans will, their players will, and I think with the players that we've got. Even the ones that are not available, we've still got players in the squad that can actually win this game, I think. So it's going to be a very interesting game. But I mean, let's get on to the starting lineup, Matt, for the
Okay.
Blues. Do you want to...
So, for Southampton, I took us through my entire team. Do you want to take us through yours, and then I'll join? To be fair, mine's going to be pretty straightforward.
Mine's going to be. I've picked exactly the same starting lineup as
there you
Southampton because I think that everybody earns that. I think we were intense. We were obviously the planned. A good game plan that it was executed well. The only thing I would say, and I will go through the team in a minute as well, I think we just need to be more clever with substitutions. I think some of the timings of the substitutions against Southampton impeded the momentum and flow of the game, and I think that's where we need to be better, I think.
You can only work with the hand you've been dealt. In terms of, we don't have massive amounts of quality coming off. I can appreciate your point, Dad. If you look at the Southampton game, substitutions changed that on both sides for both teams.
Yeah.
Southampton came into it more, and we kind of faded a little bit, especially with our energy. But who do we have on the bench who's going to set the world alight? We don't have those options, do we? But I agree, there's a key to the timing element as well. And also remember, Dad, we play Watford on the Thursday and then Coventry on the Sunday, and then we do thankfully have a week's buffer in the FA Cup, but a big game on the weekend. So again, we are talking human beings, muscles, ligaments. We need to be wary we don't overstretch. Stansfield comes to mind. Yeah. Plays every minute of every game pretty much. And, worried, I guess, we're already thin on the ground. We don't want to run these players out as well. So there's a balance here between making subs at the right time, having impact. But I worry with the quality we have coming off on the bench. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, it's fair, but it's fair to say that they're all professional footballers and they all play for Birmingham City. So if they're not good enough, what they're doing there first, that's the first thing.
Yeah, we have injuries and suspensions.
Secondly, you make a very good point about the amount of games in a short period of time, and that will factor into this. But from listening to Ben Petty in the post-match interview against Southampton, I believe that Cochrane is probably, and Dimmy, they may or may not make it and probably won't. That's the reading between the lines. That's what I thought he said. So I've just assumed that, and obviously we've still got suspensions to Clara and Doyle. So I'll go from a team. So basically, Beadle in goal, Cash in left back, Robinson and Neumann centre halves, and Samstead at right back, Paik and Awata in the middle. Stansfield on the left, Roberts on the right, Kyogo 9 and Williamson 10, which is the starting lineup.
My only difference to that, Dad, and fair enough, I know I'm putting square pegs in round holes, is just maybe putting Leonard in the 10 instead of Williamson. I think Williamson looked really tired.
Has Leonard played the 10 before?
Yeah, he has, and he hasn't looked great. And again, I'm going to put my hands up. I'm not saying necessarily it's a good suggestion. I'm just, Williamson... he's not a bad player. He's just slow. Yeah. His turning circle seems slow. His passing seems slow. Also, he's not far off from coming back from injury. Against Southampton, again, he looked shattered.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about energy, maybe putting Leonard in the 10. I don't know. It's a question mark, really. That's
been our problem. Well, one of the problem positions, hasn't it? The number 10. But I think the Prince.
Do we dare whisper Fujimoto?
Well, he's on the bench again. He didn't even get on against Southampton. That was the game to put him on if he was going to play. He ain't going to play, is he?
He's not, no.
But I think Williamson will start at number 10. And
I think you're right.
The principle is that he'll feed the balls through to Kyogo, although most of the chances came from other players actually to him.
I absolutely don't have a problem with Williamson starting, Dad. I'm just thinking, when you do think about combativeness and energy levels, he looked tired to me. He doesn't offer us that physicality presence. Yeah. I mean, I get it. He does do nice link-up play. He's got nice touches, bar him being a little bit slow. I do get it. He's not a bad footballer. I'm not saying that. This isn't a Williamson bashing session. I just think Leonard might give us a little bit more, maybe. It's a question.
Yeah. So what about score prediction, Matt?
So my pre-Southampton score prediction was a loss and quite a bad one. I'm not even going to lie. But with the structure we now have at the back, I think we can nick something here. So I'm going to go for a draw. And I think both teams are going to score. There's going to be some goals in this. I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I've gone for a 1-1.
Have you?
I've gone for a 1-1, and I think there will be goals. But like I say, it's an away game. And, everybody knows that the Blues are really poor on the road so far this season. The players know that. The managers know that. The coaches will know that. We just got to make sure we don't concede early goals, because how many times do we go behind? And that's where, once you've done that, we struggle, don't we?
It's such a hill to climb for Blues.
One thing to also mention as well, Chris Davis will be banned from the dugout, so I presume Ben Petty will be on the.
I forgot about that. That makes a massive difference.
Well, yes, it does, but I presume that Chris Davis will be in communication with Ben Betty and barking his orders down to him anyway. But it's not the same as having your manager on the side. But it is what it is, and that's just where we are at the moment. And of course, we've got the Coventry game coming up not long after that on the 4th of January, which is Sunday. And then there's a little bit of a break. We've got the FA Cup, and that'll be interesting when we do the preview for that. I haven't looked at it yet or thought about it yet, but who on earth do you pick for that? I reckon we might see a few of our youth players.
I think we will. Yeah.
But we'll come on to that at that particular time. But for me, it's I'm more confident. I've got more confidence after that. And you know what, Matt? I don't want to lose any game, but I want to come away from a game feeling like we've had a go. We've at least if we've not won the game, maybe a draw or even a loss, feel like I were in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt for the first time in a few games now against Southampton. That's how I felt. I felt all right. We've got a home draw. Disappointing getting a point at home. But I still felt we were in it. And
against one of the better teams in the league, though.
I think so. And we're playing another one here, and Watford is showing that as well. There's no easy games in this league. We've said that many times before, Matt. And this is another one. Everybody has to play everybody, home and away, don't they, throughout the season?
Exactly.
It does appear, though, over the Christmas period, we have had a particularly tough run of fixtures, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But everybody's going to play them all anyway.
Exactly.
And let's hope we can get something and start to improve our away form. Because if we can do that, we'll start to go in the right direction again.
Completely agree, Dad. But as always, Birmingham City supporters, we would love to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Maybe you're a Watford supporter. Maybe you've seen our videos before. Maybe you've tuned in for the first time. Please let us know your thoughts as well. I'm sure you're very happy with the momentum you're on at the moment. And we'd love to hear from you as well. Just keep those comments clean. We're a family podcast. We'd really appreciate that. And if you liked the video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also over on Spotify, so you can listen and watch us over there. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that bell icon so you get notified every time we post. And myself and Dad will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.